Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp. Thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, we had the great pleasure of speaking with Miss Samantha Foote. If you did not get a chance to listen to that episode, please do. We had a great conversation about music therapy and all the different ways that you can infuse music with psychology to help your kids. If you didn't get a chance, like I said, to listen to that episode, please do. This week, I am super excited to have Dr. Emily Levy on the show today. Dr. Emily is a leading education expert and the founder of EBL Coaching, which is an award-winning tutoring program that specializes in helping students with learning challenges, including dyslexia, ADHD, and other learning disabilities. Through personalized one-on-one instruction delivered in-home, virtually, or on-site, EBL Coaching employs research-backed multisensory techniques to help children excel academically. With degrees from Brown University and Nova Southeastern University, including a doctorate in education, Dr. Levy has conducted groundbreaking research in reading comprehension strategies, earning her 5th place Westinghouse Science and Talent Award. She is also the author of multiple acclaimed educational resources, including the Strategies for Study Success Workbook series and the Flags and Stars Orton Gillingham and Multisensory Math programs. Woo, that was a mouthful, which are all used in schools nationwide. Dr. Levy is passionate about empowering parents to act as advocates for their children's education and building key academic and executive functioning skills. She has personally helped thousands of students unlock their potential. Please join us on this episode today that I am so excited to be speaking with. Thank you so much for being on the show, Dr. Levy.
Well, thank you for that amazing introduction. Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. I am so excited. And I know we spoke a while back and I know we've been trying to get you on the show. So I'm glad that the moment is finally here. But I kind of just want to jump right in. And for those of you listening today, I would love for you to tell our audience, what made you start EBL Coaching and focus on some of these multisensory teaching techniques.
Sure. Well, to date back, I actually grew up in the field of special education. My mother was the founder of a school for students with learning disabilities down in Florida, which is where I grew up.
Oh,
so
wow.
I like to say it's sort of in my blood. I spent my childhood working at my mother's school, observing kids, working with kids, being trained in different multisensory approaches to teaching. And then I went to college at Brown. And after college, of all things, I actually did finance for 2 years, which is totally different than what I do now.
Well, left field, yeah.
Yes, really different. I actually did learn a lot, though, just about the financial side of things and all
Right.
that. But I quickly realized it wasn't my calling. And I remember just how gratifying and rewarding the field of special education was. So I ended up pivoting. I got my master's degree in special education and my doctorate degree in education, and just started this journey of personally working one-on-one with students who had various types of special education needs, autism, learning disabilities, ADHD, the whole gamut. Mm-hmm. And then just slowly and organically just started to bring other experts, other tutors who specialized in different skill areas on board. So it was a very slow organic growth. I started it in my little apartment and then moved to an office space, a bigger office space. Now we have 2 learning centers, one in New York City and one in New Jersey. And we do this kind of multisensory tutoring nationwide, actually really worldwide now, which has been really exciting. So it's been this great journey. It's kind of carved its own path, but it's all brought me to where I am now.
And you probably didn't anticipate the powerhouse that it would become. It sounds like you have built, something very robust, which I think is really awesome. Good for you.
Thank you. Yes, it's been really exciting. And just watching these kids grow and thrive just makes my day every day.
Yeah, I always love seeing the light bulb moments, even in my own child. So I can't imagine I mean, you probably get to see so many wonderful light bulb moments, and that's just nothing short of amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what are some practical strategies that parents can use to advocate for their child's education effectively? Because we're talking about tutoring and helping kids learn, but I always feel like the parents need to feel encouraged in order to even push to go start going those avenues. So, do you have any practical strategies that you could recommend to parents?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I'm really a believer that a parent will always be their child's best advocate. So they know their child best, and it's really so important that they play that role of advocating for their child. And first off, I know that it can be discouraging for a parent to see their child struggle so much and see red marks all over their paper and poor self-esteem. But the reality is there's so many amazing leaders, CEOs, visionaries in our country, in the world, who have learning challenges, attentional challenges. So sometimes getting through school is the challenge, but they have so many great skills that can help them excel in life. So I always really like to have that perspective.
That's
When I
such a
speak.
great point. Yeah,
It's
such a
really true.
great
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look at Elon Musk and Whoopi Goldberg, Tom Cruise. There's a laundry list of
Yes.
incredibly successful people who have learning challenges of different types. With that said, I always tell parents from a practical standpoint, at the start of the school year, set up a meeting with your child's teacher, set up a meeting with any service providers, really that team meeting. Go over your child's IEP if they have one. Go over the recommended services. Really kind of flush out what your child should be receiving that year, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, and then really set up a plan for communication on a regular basis, because sometimes a child might be doing really well for a period of time, and then suddenly they hit a wall and they're not doing well. So you really kind of have to be proactive, take action, and tweak things if something isn't working, to really constantly make sure that they're progressing in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point. I used to now I have a lot of communication at the school where Drayson's at. So I kind of have those markers, and that rhythm down of speaking to his teacher and knowing where his progress is at. But something I had to do where he was previously at was, I called it the 6-week rule. 6 weeks after we started school, I would request an IEP review. And it would really tick off the the faculty, but I did it because it was a new school year. The IEP had been settled from the year before, and I wanted to know where his progress was in case we had to change anything. And so I think that you bring up a very interesting point to that, because I think it is important. As a parent, we don't think sometimes that we need to stay up on that. We just think, oh, here are the goals. This is what they gave us. And when we have our meeting, they'll let us know. Well, that meeting, if you wait until your next annual review, that's been almost a year. There's been no, and even sometimes to receive a progress report, I don't know necessarily what I'm reading. I would like to speak to the people that are writing up those progress reports so I can fully understand where my child is at. But that took me a long time to learn. Nobody told me that. I just started kind of naturally doing that. So you bringing that to light and saying that and really having parents jump in as a proactive approach is such wonderful advice to our parents today, so that they can check on those things. Because I think that that's so important. Because if you can't say where your child's progress is, how do you know where to start or where to pivot from?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. I always think better to be proactive than reactive.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the big questions I have, and I feel like this is a big question, is, how can parents identify signs that their child might need additional academic support or interventions? Because again, I just naturally kind of fell into being curious and asking questions, but I know not every parent is like that. So how can parents maybe identify signs that their child might need additional help?
Sure. Well, a lot of them are skill specific. So, for instance, with reading, if a child, for instance, is in kindergarten and is really struggling to learn the names of the letters and their corresponding sounds and some basic blending, that could be a red flag that something deeper may be going on. If they have trouble with phonemic awareness skills like rhyming or identifying the beginning sound in a word or the ending sound in a word, these are all potential red flags that something deeper could be going on, could be developmental, but just something that they may want to kind of notice and possibly look into. Same thing is true with writing. If a child reaches first, second grade and they can't really put a sentence together in a cohesive way,
Right.
they may have a writing challenge. With math, they might have difficulty understanding basic math concepts. What does it mean to add or subtract objects? Can they solve a very basic word problem? If they're
Mm-hmm.
noticing their child is struggling a lot with their homework, struggling with these basic skills, it's worth initiating that conversation with their teacher to see if the
Mm-hmm.
teacher is noticing any struggles. And if so, perhaps then have an evaluation done and go from there.
Right, right. And I think that, again, you bring up a really interesting point. One thing I learned, at least here in Arizona where I'm at, teachers are very hesitant to recommend anything outside of school. And so I think that you bring up a really valid point to encourage the parents to be the ones to ask. Because I know then if I initiated the question to the teacher, then she would tell me. She would let me know what the feedback was, but she wouldn't always necessarily willingly just offer that information, if that makes sense. So I think that as parents, we have a very big responsibility to follow up on that and to ask. And so I think that that's a great piece of information that you're giving, is to make sure that parents are the ones asking that question and getting that feedback from that educator, because at least here, and I don't know where it is in other parts of the country, that's why I'm saying here in Arizona, that was something I noticed very much, that if I didn't ask the question of where they were at, they wouldn't necessarily tell me. Or if I thought he needed tutoring, they wouldn't necessarily tell me unless I asked, which is kind of interesting. But, I know that there's reasons behind it, but but
Yeah.
I think if somebody had told me that as a parent, I would have been like, oh, okay, it's my responsibility. I got to follow up on that, But we're not taught that either. So I think walking into meetings like that sometimes can be really, really, really confusing. And I knew, Drayson always needed additional help. I just didn't know exactly what. And that was always a little bit of a frustration for me when he was younger. It took me a long time to kind of get that figured out. So we've talked a little bit about executive functioning. I mentioned that, but what role does building executive functioning skills play in a child's overall academic success?
Well, it really plays a big role. So,
Mm-hmm.
executive functioning involves skills like planning, organization, time
Mm-hmm.
management, task initiation, which as a child moves through school, certainly through upper elementary into middle school, those
Mm-hmm.
executive functioning demands increase rapidly. Once they have to
Yes.
switch classes and manage multiple subjects and different tests and different workloads, kids who don't have strong executive functioning skills tend to really struggle. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen so many kids that are bright, they're gifted, they're very strong academically, but their
Yes.
grades tank because they have poor executive functioning skills. So I think being
Yes.
proactive with that also, and teaching kids specific executive functioning strategies for those kinds of skills, time management, again, organization, homework
Mm-hmm.
planning, all of that is so helpful in really just setting the stage for success as they move through upper elementary into middle school and beyond.
Yeah. Oh, no, I 100% agree. In fact, I know some adults that could use some executive functioning skills as well.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I
Many,
mean, I
not
think,
just
right? I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that out loud. But anyway, um, so
yeah.
can you explain the benefits of the approaches that you take and how your program can enhance learning? And you can do this virtually. It's not just in person, right? You guys offer virtual as well.
We definitely offer virtual. We do a lot of virtual tutoring now. Again, not just nationwide, but we have kids in Asia and Europe, really all over. And
That's
what's nice
fantastic.
about that? It's really nice. It's been so gratifying because we've been able to offer this multisensory approach to
Mm-hmm.
kids who may not have it in their local geographic area. So it's really just
Yes.
a great way to spread our wings and help more and more kids. And everything that we do is very much catered to the needs of each student. So we
Mm-hmm.
pull from about 22 different research-based techniques depending on what's right for each student and depending on what their skills challenges are. If they're just struggling with reading, then we'll target just the reading. If it's reading and writing or reading and math or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
may be, we come up with a targeted diagnostic and prescriptive plan to specifically address and develop their skills.
That's awesome. And so now, is there an age range do you work with littles, or is there a specific age range where this is the most effective for kids, or are you guys
Well,
kind of all over the board?
we start as young as age 3 and we go all the way up through
Wow.
the adult level. So we do the whole gamut. We do have different specialists on board who specialize in different age and skill levels. So we have some early childhood specialists. We have high-level math specialists. We have
Okay.
executive functioning coaches. So we have different individuals that specialize in different age and skill areas.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think that it's great that you bring that to light, that you can also do virtual, because I've spoken to families and parents and kids that are in areas where they just can't find the resources that they need, or they're in a more rural area and they don't have tutoring available to them. And so their biggest concern is, I feel like my child's suffering, academically, but I can't find the resources or the help that I need. So I think it's wonderful that you also offer that virtual services as well. That's really, really fantastic. I think, we're talking in perspective of the virtual and in-home coaching, to meet those different needs for your learners. It's very, very customized from what I hear you saying. Is that correct?
That is correct, 100%.
Are the assessments, do they take a long time? Is it something that, how do you assess that? Is it also feedback that you get from the parents, or is it a school report, or how do you initially take that bird's eye view, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Sure. So usually first I'll have a conversation with the parent and they'll tell me about their child. I'll ask questions about the difficulties that they're having. Then from there, we set up an initial assessment to gauge their core academic skills, reading, spelling, writing, math, any executive functioning weaknesses. If the child has an IEP or any other evaluations, we'll take that into account as well and review that. And then from there, come up with that real targeted instructional plan for the tutoring. So again, it's very much customized to their individual needs.
That's great. So do you have any favorite or success stories about, in all your years of doing this? I'm sure you have some fantastic and beautiful, wonderful stories. Is there any success stories that come to mind for you?
Sure, there are so many. I'm very thankful that we've had so many. I love when a parent calls me years later and tells me how well their child's doing. But there's one that really always warms my heart. This was a boy many years ago who I personally tutored. He was in, I believe, first grade at the time, severe ADHD and severe dyslexia, could not read at all. And I worked with him personally for many years using the Orton-Gillingham method, which is a specialized approach for teaching reading. And I stopped with him, I think, when he was in maybe sixth grade or so. And then not that long ago, his mom happened to have reached out to me and said that not only did he make it through high school, through college, but he was in graduate school studying to be an engineer and was doing amazingly well and was thriving. And it was just, to hear stories like that is just, again, warms my heart.
Right. That's so awesome. I love that. Drayson was, and I've told the story before on other episodes, but, for the longest time, I thought Drayson was dyslexic. And I remember the educators kept telling me, no, he's fine. He reads just fine. He read just fine. It was the comprehension piece that I was like, no, there's something else going on. I think he learned how to pronounce words, even with the dyslexia. So it almost was like masked. Well, sure enough, when we had the independent evaluation done, he came back with all three of the Ds. He had dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and dyslexia. And, this was years ago for us too. We immediately put him into tutoring, and he was in some pretty intensive dyslexia tutoring for a couple years. And I remember, though, when I could start to see the comprehension coming together. And I love this because I call this moments of belief. I've had a lot of moments of belief with Drayson. And this was a huge moment of belief for me because it gave me hope and belief that he would be able to not only finish high school, but my hope is that he can go on to college or some sort of, skill trade or something like that after high school. Like it gave me hope that he wasn't just going to end up being a kid that where the only jobs out there for them are bagging groceries, so to speak. And so I think, what's so honorable about the work that you do is you're able to, you guys have no idea how you're shaping and molding these lives for the future, at least in that moment. And for you to see that kind of as the end result, that had to have been such a gratifying moment for you.
It really is. And
Yeah.
there's so many stories like that. And again, that's why I always like to tell parents who are in the thick of it to try to share with them these stories. If there is a light at the end of this tunnel, if we can get your child through school, give them the right support, they have so much potential to do well in life. We don't want them to feel discouraged and to lose self-esteem.
Yeah.
We want to build them up, build their skills, and they just have so much potential to really succeed in life.
Yeah. And I think that it takes, we have to encourage ourselves to believe in our kids, right? But it's great when we have people like you out there that are also cheering that on, because I think that that's what I look for, especially here in Arizona with some of my providers. I want them to believe in my kid just as much as I do, because otherwise, like they're learning from them. They're taking in data, so to speak. And so I want that to be felt by who he's around. Because I do think that it could be potentially very damaging to their confidence level too. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of kids at first start with maybe a little bit of self-confidence, and then as they learn and are able to learn more, their self-confidence also increases too.
Absolutely. Goes
Yeah.
hand in hand.
Wow. So now for people that want to get in touch with you, and like I said, I know I mentioned that you do virtual as well, but what would be some of the first steps? And can they go to your website? Should they call and book an appointment? What's the process for them to get started if they're interested?
Sure. So I would say the best way is to go to our website, which is eblcoaching.com. There's a contact form there. They should fill that out, share if they're comfortable sharing a little bit of information about their child. One thing I will add is that we actually accept educational freedom funds through Arizona. There's a few states that have that. So we have some
Wonderful.
families in
Yeah.
Arizona where we don't have to pay for it, which is always a nice bonus. So
Yeah.
that's just something to know. But I would say it's through our website. We also have Facebook channels, Instagram, TikTok, if they want to just learn more information. But the best way to get in touch with us is our website.
Okay, that's awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having you on the show and us having this conversation today. I think it's so important. Do you have any last words for parents out there?
I would say, again, remember your child may struggle with some skills academically, but they all have gifts. We all have strengths and weaknesses. And remember to believe in your child. They have the ability to get through this and to be successful.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thank you again for being on the show. I absolutely am taking in all of these words of wisdom from you. So again, I appreciate you on so many levels. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Absolutely. This concludes our episode for today. For those of you guys listening, I will post all of Doctor's information in the show notes. So if you would like to get a hold of Dr. Levy, please do. I highly, highly encourage it. Even if it's just to explore the possibility of something like this for your kiddo, take that first step and make that appointment today, okay? Once again, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. If you have questions, comments, or even a show topic that you would like to hear about, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't done so already, or feel free to check us out on YouTube. If you like what you're hearing, please spread the word to others so that we can help the special needs community and build more awareness every day. And feel free to give us a good rating on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, keep working on your puzzle. And remember, you don't have to have it all solved in a day. Take care.